Hey guys, welcome to another episode. This one's going to be a little short. Just going to kind of show you what I've been doing with the steering, which has been a real trial, let me tell you. I've abandoned the chain idea that I was talking about. Just didn't like it at all. And so I've gone back to universal joints and just trying to find a good path through all of the brake mechanism and whatnot. So anyway, let's go take a look. So one of the things I had to be careful about is the steering position, because the steering position was perfect for viewing the dash through the steering wheel, and I didn't want that to change. So moving this around was also going to be very difficult because I have an actual Aventador front kind of support system for the dash. So I did have to pick this up in order to make the dash fit properly. And I got it relatively inexpensive, and it's great because the dash fits absolutely perfect. So what I did have to do though is I had to modify slightly the hookups here. So we've got four screws over here that hold the face in, and then we've got two screws back here that actually hold it nice and solid so it's not going anywhere. Then I have the little shaft coming out here into our first universal joint. I'm using pretty good universal joints, so I didn't chump out on them. I actually paid more than I really wanted to, but since I was going to be using a lot of them and potentially putting them under stress, I wanted good ones. So we had to kind of notch out the pedal assembly here, which was okay because I'm not really compromising the structure for the pedal assembly. And you can see that we have really tight, close tolerances here, but throughout the entire range of travel currently, which I will show you in a minute, we are not touching anything. So that's really important. Then we have another universal joint down here. And then we have a shaft that is supported by a Heim joint. And I kind of butted the universal joint up against the ball that's in the Heim joint just to give it a little bit more support so that it doesn't wobble around and bind on me. The next thing I did was I ran it underneath the cantilevered suspension. And yes, I've checked for clearance when the suspension is at full droop and also at full compression. So making sure that it does not come even close and that we have a good clearance between that and the next universal joint. And this universal joint I bought specially because it has a very high angular operation range. And so we're not putting this under too much stress or beyond its capability. And then a double U-joint goes down to the steering rack. So yes, that is technically 5 U-joints. But I have another support here. It's kind of just mocked in for now. I'll actually clean this up so it'll won't look like a big hunk of crap hanging off of here. And then I had to rotate the actual rack up so that it wasn't pointing underneath this crossbar. And I wasn't willing to compromise this crossbar in any way because it's responsible for the strength in the suspension. Obviously, because it holds the cantilevered coilovers. So this was basically a non-starter for cutting any holes in it. The lower cross member here is just for support, so it was okay to section that out as I did earlier on. I may cut this all out and put a new piece in since I have moved the steering rack and don't need all of this cut out. So pretty easy for me to do. So anyway, let's get on to how it moves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the wheel here and show you guys how it moves. So this will be lock to lock. So some of the flex that you might see in there is actually coming from the fact that I've got this just tacked in for now. So this is moving a little bit, and so is the other one. So those will get fully welded once I'm happy with the motion. Nothing's binding, nothing's touching anything, and we've got good clearance. So I think I'm gonna go from here. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna drill out dimples in the bars for the set screws, and then we'll Loctite those in, and so that way we won't have any problems falling out. These also come with nuts that you can put on them, jam nuts. So that'll work for the places where I don't have a clearance issue, but other places where I have, you know, kind of a issue there, I have to do the dimple and then Loctite those in, because I just don't have space for the jam nuts on there. So that's kind of where we're at with the steering. Get you kind of a good look at the whole system here, which yeah, it's a bit of engineering work, and it's been a real pain in the butt. I've gone through a number of different scenarios trying to get it around the bottom of that cross member. It just didn't work, so I had to rotate this, which actually wasn't that big a deal because I just had to cut the 2 tabs off for the steering rack and rotate it. One of the issues, though, is now I have a tube that's pointing down, and I have to make sure that I have ground clearance for that. Now, eventually, we're going to have a sheet skin underneath the entire bottom of the car that will act as, you know, basically a skid plate, so that we don't damage any of the critical stuff like this guy. And then you saw that the oil pan is now below the frame, and so we'll have some protection there for that as well. So anyway, it's time to clean this all up. I've got to fit a bracket for the brake system, or the brake bias here. So I have a bracket made up for that, and I just have to weld that in. But the clutch and the brakes are working absolutely fantastic. I get really good brake pedal feel. I don't have a brake booster anymore, so we're not going to have power brakes. But, you know, frankly, that's one of the things I like about some of these cars is that you get a really good feel for the road when you don't have power brakes. So we'll see how it goes. But in the case of the steering, when you have such big, heavy tires that are on the front, so we have 2 45s up front, I think you still want a power steering rack so you can get around the parking lots and steer when you're going slow. So that kind of begs the questions, what's next? You remember in a previous video we showed the company Chip Pros coming out and doing a test fit and some stuff on the windshield. They're getting really close to bringing out another test fit, and then hopefully we'll install a real one in here soon, so we'll show you video of that when they come back out. We have to put oil in the car, and we have to get that in so that we can see if there's any leaks. Remember, I tested it with water, but you know, you only really are testing it when it's actually in the system. I've gotten new clamps for the I'll show you here. Gotten these new clamps. These are much better clamps for the turbos, so we can see those here. Much higher quality. They're called quick clamps, but I was just happy with the fact that they're much higher quality. They don't bind up, and they have kind of a nylon. So that's it for this one, guys. Look for those updates coming real soon. I got to get all the mechanics right, just because I want the car to, you know, not drive like a jalopy down the road. I want it to actually drive like a supercar. So I'm going to go through a lot of these issues that you have to cut stuff out, redo it, refit it, try it, see if it works, be safe about it. So anyway, thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Remember, we have a subscribe star page if you want to contribute to the paint and body work that we're going to have done to the car. So anyway, hope you guys are out there staying safe, and we'll see you real soon.